Step away from the wall, old man. You don't belong here. That was the first thing the white police officer said, loud, sharp, the kind of voice trained to command fear, not respect. The old man didn't flinch. He just stood there, silent, steady, in a dark brown coat 2 sizes too big and boots that had long since stopped being waterproof. One hand rested on the brick wall of the courthouse, the other clutched a small, weathered duffel bag. The officer stepped closer, face twisted with disdain. "You deaf, too? This ain't a warming station. Move it along. This is government property." The man didn't reply. He simply looked up, and for a split second there was something in his eyes. Something that didn't match the cracked glasses or the frayed sleeves. But the officer didn't see it, or maybe he did, and ignored it. He jabbed a finger into the old man's chest. "Go wait at the shelter, Grandpa. This ain't a place for you to loiter. You're making the place look bad." It was a cold morning. Wind sliced through the city like a blade. Pedestrians hurried past, collars pulled up, eyes averted. No one stopped. No one asked. Just one more homeless black man, they thought. One more invisible shadow in a system that had learned to step over lives without ever looking down. But this time, someone had a phone out. A young woman across the street, sipping coffee on her break, caught the moment. The officer's tone, the shove, the old man's silence. She pressed record, just in time to catch the officer grab the man's duffel bag. "What's in here? Trash?" the officer muttered, yanking it open. No food, no clothes, just letters. Dozens of them. Some yellowed with time, sealed in faded envelopes. Others newer, crisp, the ink still dark and steady. All addressed, all personal. And one letter stood apart. No address, no stamp. Just a single name, written in small, careful print. "To the one who never forgot me." The officer scoffed. "You writin' to ghosts now, old man?" The man said nothing. He simply reached for the bag. The officer yanked it back. Then he laughed. Laughed, the same way you laugh at something pathetic, at something you're too young to understand or too heartless to care. "Cosplaying a soldier, huh?" he smirked. "What's next? You gonna salute a parking meter?" That's when the old man finally spoke. His voice was quiet, gravelly, but every syllable cut through the morning frost like steel on glass. "I buried men who bled for the right you just pissed on." The officer blinked. For a heartbeat, the world stilled. And then the patrol car pulled up. Another white officer stepped out, older, stockier, sergeant stripes on his sleeve. He looked at the scene, at the man, at the bag full of letters, and he froze. "Elijah?" he said, barely above a whisper. The old man looked up, nodded once. And just like that, just like a switch being thrown, the smirk vanished from the younger officer's face, because the sergeant was already standing at attention. The younger officer took a cautious step back, now unsure whether to speak or stand down. "Elijah," Sergeant Rourke said again, slower this time, as if the name had weight, which it did. The bag of letters was already in the old man's hands again, his fingers slow but deliberate. He zipped it up gently, like you would close the lid on a memory that still burned. The younger officer opened his mouth to speak, but Sergeant Rourke held up a hand. "You can go back to the cruiser, Dan, now." The order wasn't barked. It didn't need to be. It was absolute. When the younger cop finally left, the sergeant stayed behind. He didn't salute. He didn't shake hands. He just sat down on the bench next to the man who'd once led men through jungles they couldn't pronounce, who'd signed orders for missions that didn't officially exist. "I thought you were dead," Rourke said quietly. Elijah chuckled softly. "A lot of people did. How long you been back?" Elijah didn't answer right away. He looked up at the flag above the courthouse, limp in the still morning, the wind having momentarily died. "Got stateside in '93, he finally said. "VA never processed the paperwork. No benefits, no address, just drifted." "You didn't reach out?" "To who?" Rourke looked away, ashamed. Elijah continued. "I went by Fort Oliver once, 2001. Thought maybe someone'd recognize me. Thought maybe the Hall of Records still had my name." "And?" Rourke asked. "They told me civilians needed to apply online." Silence. The kind that doesn't ask for pity, only space to breathe. "I remember you," Rourke said. "Staff sergeant. You covered the rear in the Coast Valley pullout. We lost 6 men. Could have been 40 if you hadn't held the bridge." Elijah shrugged. "I just didn't move fast enough, that's all." But it wasn't all. Because every man who'd served under Elijah knew his name. The one still breathing had passed his stories around like underground gospel. The quiet man. The one who never raised his voice. The one who never left a man behind, even when command did. Rourke reached into his own coat pocket and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped it slowly and held it out. A medal. Bronze star. Elijah blinked, confused. "It's yours," Rourke said. "No, it's not," Elijah replied, voice calm. "Mine was stripped." "I know," Rourke nodded, "and that was wrong." Elijah looked at the medal for a long time, but didn't take it. "You're not here for medals, are you?" Rourke asked. "No," Elijah answered. "I'm here for a letter." He unzipped his bag again and pulled out the envelope, the one without a stamp, just the words, "To the one who never forgot me." Rourke tilted his head. "It's for someone who won't be expecting it. A judge. Name's Miriam Fields. I saved her brother. Kabul, '89. She never knew. And I never got to tell her." Rourke exhaled slowly. "You came all the way to deliver that?" Elijah looked around the plaza, at the buildings, the traffic, the towers of concrete and steel. His gaze finally rested on the courthouse. "I came to make sure someone remembers. That's all." The sergeant stood up. "I'll walk you in." "No," Elijah said gently. "You go on. The wind's picking up. You still got work to do." Rourke hesitated, then nodded. He walked away. But he didn't get in the cruiser. He made a call. 15 minutes later, a black SUV with government plates pulled to the curb. Out stepped a woman in her early 50s, salt and pepper hair tucked beneath a civilian coat, heels clicking sharply on the pavement. She didn't look like much, just another federal bureaucrat, maybe a defense lawyer. But the moment she saw Elijah, her face changed. Her breath caught. "Elijah Cain?" she asked. The man nodded slowly. "Judge Fields?" She walked up, stood still for a moment, then extended her hand. "I've been trying to find you for 10 years, she said. Elijah looked down at the envelope, then held it out. "You saved my brother," she said before he could speak. "He told me everything before he died of cancer 3 years ago. Said there was a man who carried him 4 miles under enemy fire. Said he owed his life to a ghost named Cain." "I didn't carry him 4 miles," Elijah muttered. She smiled. "That's not what he said." She took the envelope, but she didn't open it. Instead, she said, "You should come inside." "They won't let me." "They will now." The courthouse doors opened, and for the first time in over 30 years, Elijah Cain walked into a government building without being escorted. No chains, no questions, no orders barked from behind a shield of suspicion. Only silence and respect. Inside the courthouse, the air shifted. People who had passed Elijah Cain outside now avoided eye contact. A few whispered, others just stared. Some had laughed when the video of him slumped on that bench went viral. They had seen an old black man with a ragged coat and a bag full of junk mail. Now they watched a federal judge walk beside him like he belonged. Because he did. They entered a private chamber upstairs, away from the courtroom traffic. Judge Miriam Fields set the envelope down on the table, but still didn't open it. She looked at Elijah, her eyes glassy. "You know, when my brother died, he told me something strange," she said. "He said if I ever met the man who saved him, I wouldn't recognize a hero. I'd recognize silence, dignity. He said you'd show up when the world had forgotten, and you'd never ask for anything." Elijah offered a sad smile. "Sounds like something he'd say." "I had the Pentagon run your name last year," she said. "It was redacted, still under black protocol clearance. Took me a dozen calls and 3 retired generals just to confirm you existed. Do you know how many men have citations classified for national security reasons?" "Too many," Elijah said. "Too many," she echoed. She opened the letter. It was short, handwritten, simple. To the sister of Thomas Fields. "Your brother died with peace because he knew his life had meaning. I carried him, but he carried me longer. He spoke of you every day. I never got to say thank you for what you must have lost. So this letter is for you, not to mourn, but to remember. If the world forgets us, may at least one heart still know we were here. E.C." She folded it slowly, pressing the creases like a sacred ritual. Then, with trembling hands, she stood and did something no judge had ever done in that room. She saluted. Not as a soldier, not as a formality, but as a sister, to a man who never asked to be remembered, only not to be erased. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. A decorated black operative, forgotten by the country he had served, remembered by a judge whose brother had once whispered his name in a fevered field hospital across the globe. The press wanted interviews. Elijah refused. The Department of Defense issued a statement. Oversight, they called it. But those who knew, they understood. It wasn't oversight. It was erasure. And that ends differently. 2 weeks later, at Arlington Cemetery, a new stone was placed. It bore no rank, no branch, just a name. Elijah Cain, the man they left behind. But he never left anyone. The ceremony was small, by invitation only. Judge Fields, Sergeant Rourke, a few veterans in plain clothes. But 1,000 more watched from afar, from bars, basements, shelters, and long, silent hospital corridors, places where ghosts still walk, quietly wondering if anyone remembers them. In a briefing at the Pentagon, a new training slide was added. It showed Elijah's photo. No uniform, just the bench, the bag, the look in his eyes. Below the image were 5 words: "Look deeper," or "Look away." And in the precinct where the officer had once laughed, where he had posted a video mocking a stranger, a new plaque hung beside the front desk. In honor of those we don't recognize fast enough. Let this station never again mistake dignity for disorder. The young cop who had mocked Elijah resigned quietly. No public statement. Just a handwritten note left on the sergeant's desk. I didn't know who he was. That was the problem. As for Elijah, he returned to the street, not because he had to, but because there were more letters to deliver, more names to remember. Not everyone gets a monument, but sometimes dignity is best preserved in motion, in the quiet walk of a man who refuses to vanish. Not out of pride, but out of love, for those who were lost, and those who forgot, and those still searching for what they left behind.